Are we live?
No, we're not live. I'll tell
I
you.
see this extra window on the left which says reactions and comments. We are live.
Good.
Okay.
Why don't you introduce it?
All right. Hi guys, my name is Monica Tata, and I'm a freelance illustrator. I freelance illustrator and cartoonist. What I basically do is I take my own observations on culture, society, and everyday life, and I break it down into comics. I talk a lot about women issues. I talk a lot about normalizing bodies. I talk a lot about how patriarchy is toxic to everybody in the entire gender spectrum. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And I try and open dialogues on things that women, especially women, would not be comfortable talking about. And I try and build a safe space where everybody can come together, tell their stories, and connect with each other, sort of like a community building. So that's pretty much what I do.
Hi, my name is Rashi. My name is Rashi Ray. I run an agency called Zero Budget Agency. We are essentially a brand building and communications agency. We don't spend a lot of time working on women's issues, but I think we would like to. So we probably take some influence from your work, Monica.
That'll be great. That'll be amazing. I think together we could probably, since your forte is communications and building a brand, and my forte is bringing stories from these people who are going to ultimately consume the brands you build. I think this will be a great partnership. So we are basically, I think, from my understanding, we're talking about social media and how social media is helping empower women. And yeah, basically everything that goes into building a community and making a safe space for people. So, okay, I'm going to throw this question to you, Rashi. The first one that talks about body shaming. In today's era, day and age, it's very sad, but a lot of women, especially women, get body shamed a lot when you put out your comments on the internet, an opinion piece. You get body shamed, you get trolled, you get a lot of rape threats and death threats. I have a lot to say that on myself, but I'll first throw the question to you. Have you ever dealt with, in your personal life, in your personal profiles, have you ever dealt with something like that?
In my personal
Trolls
profile, I haven't, fortunately, dealt with trolls or body shaming. And I feel that, if you are a public person, then you should be careful of what you put out. You should be careful of what kind of images you put out, because you know that you are going to get trolled. But at the same time, we should do enough to educate people so that they don't look at being fat as negative.
Right.
Or
right.
Or if somebody is putting up a picture where they're bold, you shouldn't be trolled for it. So,
Correct.
but I think that would be a very idealistic scenario.
Of course, that'll be great to have, to not be attacked for just stating your opinion or being comfortable in your own skin, right? I think ideally the whole hatred stems from the fact that we're not used to seeing confident women out in the open. Thanks to patriarchy and thanks to consumerism, I think it's very new, the phenomena of women being comfortable with themselves. So I guess that's where it really comes from. Like, I get my own fair share of, I wouldn't say hate, but I get a lot of trolls and a lot of people who raise eyebrows because of the way I am, and I'm very comfortable, whether it's about my body fat, whether it's about the way my hair looks, or whether it's about my opinions on things, regarding gender disparity, marital rape, domestic violence, things like that. And it shocks people that I talk about it with ease. But that's what I think we need to do, because social media as a platform is amazing. It doesn't, there's no bias against. Sorry.
Is there any way we could share some of these comics live?
That'll be great. I don't know if we can. Maybe somebody from the team. Mrinal, if you could let us know if there is a way to share.
Is there a way so we can talk about? Okay, we are all very new to how this.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Works technically.
Put in the comments. Oh, okay, super. She said she'll put in the comments. Okay, so yeah, so I think that will probably give us some context as to what I'm talking about. But I think the way to deal with it is to not back down. When I know people who message me personally, people who follow my work, and they tell me that they put up a picture of themselves, where this whole bikini body concept, for example, and they weren't very comfortable in their skin, but they still went ahead and put up a picture of themselves, and they received a lot of hate, and that sort of puts them back in their shell. because they receive so many comments mocking them, trolling them, so that it puts them back in the shell. And that's what I need. That's what needs to change. Basically, normalize human bodies, normalize female bodies. Like body hair is all right, stretch marks is okay, scars is all right, because that's how. And social media is a great platform to really put that word out there, saying that it's okay to look the way you look. And
from what you say, what I can gather is that if somebody is trolling you, go ahead and put something bolder.
if
And keep
exactly,
taking
yeah, shut them up, because ultimately you're not wearing that piece of clothing or that piece of jewelry or that piece of makeup for this stranger, unknown person on the internet. You're not,
right.
the whole male gaze thing comes into place. I think you're not dressing up for the opposite sex or to attract somebody. You're doing it for yourself. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to wax because it's painful. So let's not. I mean, if you don't want to wax, don't wax. If you want to wax, wax. So that's the whole point. I think we need to stop taking trolls seriously and just continue being. I think that's.
And maybe we should make a trolling app.
Oh yeah, that'll be great. I think there are people who are already giving really savage, sassy replies to these trolls, especially women. And
And I think a lot of what happens with the trolling and the body shaming is a reflection of what happens outside. So
correct.
It's not a matter of how you can handle it on social media. It's a matter of how you can handle it on the road.
Of course, right. That's where the majority of the hate exists. And then it trickles down and seeps into your social media. It's the mentality. It's not a social media and an offline and an online mentality. What you said makes a lot of sense. Right.
What I want, can you maybe tell us about a few specific pieces that you shared online, your comics on this subject? Maybe one.
There are a lot. So I just recently finished. In fact, just yesterday I put out an entire series on female contraception, because sex and female contraception is a taboo in this country, again, in our culture. We don't talk about it enough, and it's an irony because we are, our population says otherwise. So we need to start talking about female contraception, female bodies. In fact, the communication needs to be. I keep using the word normalize things. So that's one. I just recently put out a comic, not a comic, but a series of illustrations on female contraceptions, the options that are available to women in India. Apart from that, I've done an entire series called Shame, which basically tells you to stop being shame, like stop feeling the shame for normal things like gray hair, and for dark circles, for stretch marks, what I was talking about, for pigmentation, for scars, for cellulite. A lot of women are shamed for these things, and I find that ridiculous. Like, to share an example, I once went into a store to buy something like earbuds or something, and that woman just constantly kept telling me that I have white hair and I should do something about it. So I was like, no, I'm okay with my white hair. I just need earbuds. And she just kept shoving products on my face, saying, ma'am, you have scars, you have this, you're ugly, just miscellaneous ugliness on your face and your body. So here are products.
That's a case for getting to the brand and telling them how bad their sales reps are.
True. Right.
Their sales scripts need to be scripted better.
Much better. Like, if you're trying to sell me a fairness cream, then you better believe in it yourself.
Although we're talking about body shaming women, I think these days men are body shamed as well.
Of course, that's what I was talking. Yeah.
So I think it's body shaming people that should stop, not women in specific.
Body shaming anybody in general needs to stop. And just the fact that fat is a descriptive word. There's actually nothing wrong in being called fat. Like, a fat person is fat, how a thin person is thin. It's just that we've attached our own preconceived notions and judgment to the word fat, and therefore it becomes disrespectful or hurtful. But otherwise, I feel the words fat and thin are just descriptive words. So so that's my take on body shaming, and that more people should talk about it. Get back at trolls by doing your own thing, and again, just normalize bodies, whether it's female, male, however you identify yourself. I think just normalize your body. It's body at the end of the day. It's just flesh and bones.
So when you speak about these subjects, which social media channel do you use?
I use primarily Instagram and Facebook.
And what do you feel about the reach of Instagram and Facebook, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities?
I think a lot of tier 2, tier 3 cities now, also because I feel the cultural assimilation that happens due to migration. A lot of people from working professionals, at least the young people, move from their tier 2, tier 3 cities to tier 1 cities, looking for whether it's education or job opportunities. So, therefore, they also consume, anybody who has access to internet and has a smartphone today can access the content that you and I have access to. So, I think that way social media has
But
broken
do
down
you
the
feel,
barriers.
so if you have, do you feel that from your audience or people who follow you, which I'm sure you have a large following of people, who, what kind of breakdown would you have, target audience breakdown? Like, do you know where they're from, what kind of education they have, how influenced they
I
get
think it's
by
a
this?
wide range of. I would say this much that maybe because of the nature of my content, or not maybe actually, I'm pretty sure it's the nature of the content that a lot of women follow me. Like I would say it's about 70-30% ratio, when 70% are women and 30% are men who follow my work. And
Mhm.
out of these 70%, it's a wide range. So there are women who are in terms of age. If you talk about age group, then there are women right from the age of 17, 18 who follow me up until their late 40s and 50s. So that's the range. And then again, when it comes to socioeconomic backgrounds, there are people from tier 2, tier 3 cities who follow me. I'm not sure about tier 3 cities, but tier 2 cities who follow me. And for them, it's so new. And it's also refreshing for them because they're used to the social conditioning and the kind of backgrounds they come from. They're used to being shy. They're used to, staying in the shell. Girls are supposed to be this way. Boys are supposed to be this way. You can't do these things. You can't do certain things. So I think it's very refreshing for them when they see content like this online. And because like I'd mentioned earlier, my work is also does a lot of community building when a lot of women come and share their stories openly, things that they've not shared with their own families, things that they've not told their friends and spouse. They come and they feel, they feel liberated to come and share those stories in the comment section. So when these girls from tier 2, tier 3 cities see other women sharing their stories, I think it kind of empowers them, and then they can go back and have that conversation with their peers, if not friend, if they're not their family, but I feel they feel empowered to go and have that conversation with their peer group because they're all the same age, they're all going through the same things, it's very relevant and it's very relatable for them. So that's how I feel my reach is.
So the real reason your reach is actually, I mean, of course, it's a women empowerment is an important subject, but I
Hmm,
think the one key aspect of you being able to reach so many people is that your message and form and style also works for people. You're able to communicate, you know, a reasonably serious subject in a matter that people understand and are willing to listen to you
correct, yeah.
for.
Yeah, that's why
So
I feel illustrations and art has that advantage over text because it's a visual medium at the end of the day, right? For example, I've taken a big a chunk of social issue, and I've broken it down into a comic panel. So it's just easier on the brain to consume.
what else would you feel would work? What other form of communication you feel would work on this subject?
On social
On
media,
Yeah.
I think advertising is a very big part of it. Whether it's about celebrity influencers or whether it's about building mascots, I think advertising is very, very important because we still consume a lot of television. We still, at the end of the day, continue to buy products. So I think
Right.
if brands got onto that bandwagon where they stopped, I think if brands only started being more realistic and inclusive and not paint a false picture, for example, if sanitary pads stop showing the color of blood as blue, uh, it's a lot more relatable to people when they watch it, and pick up topics and be realistic. I somehow don't understand the sanitary pad ads that show the girl running and climbing mountains, and like on other days, on regular days, she would take an
Can
Uber
they
straight to work.
can we pretty sure that they're all designed by men?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand
Not
that
that
on
I think
regular days she takes an Uber straight to work, but when she's on her period, she wants to climb the mountain, cross the Himalayas, dive into the river, and then like somehow trek and then go to her workplace. I don't understand why. So that's another problem with representation of women itself, and in media, I only
again,
see.
it's a concern of not getting the ad right.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So I think,
If
like
you
you said.
if people have a headache, they lie down in an ad or they're in bed, right? Because that's essentially what happens to you. So I mean,
Correct.
whether it's period or contraception, you can't make it seem unearthly. So
Yeah, exactly. And people expect, so that's the problem, because then we are so influenced by the ads, and a lot of people who probably whose mothers and fathers didn't talk to them about menstruation, especially men, then they grow up to be managers in offices, and then they see these ads, and then they're like, why are you taking off? You know, this other girl who was on her period is climbing mountains, whereas you are complaining of cramps and you want to take off. So I think there's a huge gap between what's on ground reality and what's being portrayed on our television screens.
but these days, a lot of brands have made a shift where they're not showing or
Yeah. Yes.
objectifying women anymore. They are
Correct.
kind of, in fact, trolling brands that are objectifying women. I
Right.
think a big reason that is happening is because whenever a brand is creating, let's say, very sexist ads, they're getting trolled on social media.
Right.
They get
Right.
written about. So I mean, some amount of actual sentiments, people's sentiments are being reflected in brands, and that means people are moving towards respecting women.
Right. So Rashi, since you work with brands and you have a communication agency, you run a communication agency, what's your take on representation of women in media, whether it's social media, whether it's print, whether it's ads?
Now, representation of women, I think that there are always two types. There are the brands that um, I think would respect equality, or talk about, are more authentic in their messages, and then there are brands still today who objectify women, and
Right.
I don't see one to be right or wrong, because uh, it also depends on who you're speaking to and what you're trying to sell. And if the target audience or the user is actually buying the idea of women being objectified, then it's not the advertiser's fault alone, but it's societies in general. So it's a matter of us educating people, and it's more deep rooted than what's happening in advertising or what brands are saying.
Right. But do you believe in art imitates life or life imitates art? Like, do you think if ads start showing, like, which they are doing, like you just mentioned, advertisers are getting more conscious of how they're portraying women and the gender roles are balanced or not. But do you think if they start pushing that out more
I
and
can't
start,
hear you.
hello, can you
Sorry,
hear me now? Hello? Hello?
I couldn't hear you. There was a lag.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is this okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was trying to say was that if you think, because advertisements and films are such a big influence on the masses, right? And we say art imitates life and life imitates art. So do you think if more and more brands get conscious of the way they're portraying gender roles in their TVCs or the social media campaigns, do you think when it goes down to tier one and tier two, tier three cities, what we were discussing earlier, do you think it will help change the mindset of people?
I think that brands are getting more conscious and more conscious over
Right.
with time. And yeah, sure, if it would affect tier two, tier three cities well. I mean, you would be able to penetrate this ideology better if you showed more equality in ads rather than sexist ads. But it's not just about ads; it's also about what kind of communications is reaching them. I mean, we could just make films on powerful things that women are doing that have nothing
Correct,
to do with
correct.
brands or advertising, and be able to share that as as powerful stories.
Right,
So
right.
something simple as WhatsApp, that may also have a large enough influence. It's just that
Of
there
course,
aren't
yeah, the
enough.
WhatsApp forwards.
There
Right.
there is just there aren't enough people who care about this, or even if there isn't enough being done.
So, can you like think of any brand communication in the recent past that you felt was very powerful and it sort of sent out that message and was refreshing from what we've been seeing over the years? Any campaign, any
I think the longest going campaign has been Dove.
right? The real women.
Yeah, and that has that has made a marked difference, because they kind of started this, and there have been
And I
many
see they're
brands.
more inclusive in the models, or they like to say they've used real women from
They say
everyday life.
they've really been able to establish the real beauty campaign that they have been creating. There are several others. I think Sunsilk did one recently. It says
Mm-hmm.
shine strong, and they were talking about strong things. But I'm not very sure, because I saw this a long time ago. And you'll also see, a lot of ad hoc projects about sanitary pads and
Right.
the moon cup that are kind of
The moon cup,
being
right?
talked being talked about. So yeah,
Yeah,
there is a
I
whole.
had done I had done a
Sorry.
comic strip. I had done a comic strip on the menstrual cup as well, and even today in the morning, I received a message from somebody saying that sort of gave them the push to go ahead and try it out. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
unfortunately, there isn't really any big brand or advertiser for
they
that
wouldn't,
product.
because again, consumerism, right? Because it's a one-time purchase and it'll last you 5 to 10 years. So, do you want to take
Well,
comments, Rashi? We've got a few comments.
yeah, sure. Like we
Yeah.
can. We have just been having our own private chat, so
Yeah, guys, we're very sorry. We've not done this live thing before, so sort of just got lost.
I
I
can't see
think
the.
on the left-hand side, do you want me to read out the comment to you, Rashi?
Yeah,
If you can't
why
see.
don't you read the comments, and we'll just
Okay,
take it from there.
all right. I think Rashi should take this one. Lubna has asked, as an industry expert or professionally, have you faced any gender bias? And if you have, then how did you overcome it?
I have, and yesterday
Okay.
actually somebody asked me this. When you started working, did you face any biases? I did, but I think that if you just stay strong and become stronger, you
Mm-hmm.
can overcome anything. So you
The
shouldn't let
bias
anybody.
was it someone not taking you seriously? Because I hear that a lot from women that they're not taken seriously compared to their male counterparts.
I think that initially it is always a problem, but
Mhm.
if you just stay strong, stay put, people get around. They're not stupid.
Right.
They
It's an uphill task, but I think, yeah, if you keep pushing it, they will have to take notice ultimately. Right. Um, okay. Have you or heard of someone who's faced this before? Soma Das has asked this. How can women deal with identity theft on social media? There are way too many scary instances of people using pictures of girls they know and creating fake accounts in their name. Rashi, I think your screen froze. Hello? Okay, I think I've lost Rashi. Can you guys see her? All right, I think I will take the next comment then. How to make a balance? Suryakant has asked how to make a balance while creating communication, humor versus social message. Okay, that's a great question. That's pretty much what I try and do. Because if you take a very serious topic and you start ranting about it, after a point it just becomes a rant and nothing comes out of it. And I also want people to consume it, and therefore I try and break my comic strips into. I try and break the issue itself into comic strips. Therefore, it becomes easier on the brain for people to consume. There's a little bit of sarcasm and humor added to it. So I basically exaggerate the whole point. Like, for example, sanitary napkins, we've been discussing that in this session. So let's just take that example. I think they're ridiculous. So I just use exaggeration and humor to sort of knock it, nail the concept that, this is not how women feel when they're on their period. And these ads need to really change the storyline. I quite like the ad that had come out in between that said "touch the pickle." I think that ad was very, very powerful. It sort of tried to break those preconceived notions about what menstruation is all about. But otherwise, in general, I think period ads continue to be ridiculous and cringeworthy. So a little bit of exaggeration, a little bit of sarcasm, sort of, I think, gets the point. Um, all right, I think we've exceeded our time limit already, and I think I don't know. I don't see Rashi. Um, Are there any, Mansi is asking, are there any tips for parents in terms of keeping their kids and especially girls away from cyber threats of all sorts? internet safety is extremely important. Please try and teach not just your girls. That's another misconception, that only girls fall prey to cyber bullying and cyber threats. Young boys are also very impressionable, and they can also land in trouble. So just make sure that you teach your children to be safe on the internet. If they do have social media accounts, you as a parent are best judge of at what age should they have a social media account. And if they do have a social media account, please sit them down and talk to them about these things. Communication is the key, I feel, and that's one thing that we lack in our country, in our culture at the moment, where parents and children don't talk to each other. If only we could solve that bridge where parents and children can talk to each other comfortably, I think we can solve a lot of issues. So please sit your children down, teach them about things that can go wrong on social media, teach them not to be so naive and vulnerable. Tell them that they need to report to the parent as soon as they see a suspicious activity happening. Make sure that they know about safety and rules and regulations, that their photos can be morphed, their photos can be taken off the internet. So make sure that their profiles are safe, all the security locks and checks and all of them are in place. So and again, communication is key. So please make sure that you create that safe space for your child in the house environment itself, within your home, wherein a child can come to you, whether it's social media or whether it's offline, whether it's happening in real life, where they've had an incident at school or somewhere on the bus or while they're traveling. Just make sure that the parent and the child have that relationship, that bond, where they can feel comfortable to come back and tell you anything. Like they can share all their experiences. Oh, Rashi's back.
Hi.
Rashi, hi.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, super. I was just replying to the comments.
Okay.
Can you see the comments now? Or
I can see one. Are there any tips for parents in terms of keeping their...
I just answered that. You can go ahead and answer it as well if you have any.
No, let's take another one if you already.
Okay.
Already
super.
answered it.
All right. Jagrati has asked, do you feel for women influencers, the fact they are women becomes more prominent part of their identity than their actual craft? So like, for example,
Yes.
Are you always referred to as a woman entrepreneur and not an entrepreneur?